I wanted to talk a little bit today about adding fragile type of fabrics to quilts. And so I brought out this is an older quilt. I have a pattern for it. I think it's really fun. It's a really fun quilt to make. This is called Rush Hour. Rush Hour has fish at rush hour going every which direction. And the fish you stitch around with fancy stitches. So here's an example of using your fancy stitches on each fish. And very fun to make. After I got the fish done, I wanted to put them in water. And so assorted blues were used to put them in water. And then it was also, I don't know where I got the idea, maybe my husband, but I thought, let's put some bubbles in the water. The bubbles are these right here. I used some type of a tulle or something that was a little bit shiny, but it's a fragile fabric. And when you want to put fragile fabrics onto your quilt, you have to be extra careful and think about what you're doing. Luckily, this worked okay for me. I don't know that this would work if you wanted to wash it umpteen times and things like that. But for what I needed, it works fine. And I think it's a fun thing to be able to add different types of fabrics to your quilts. So when I was making the quilt that I'm doing now, I also wanted to add some bubbles to the quilt. So I thought I would show you how to do that. And if you ever have a quilt that needs something special, some fragile fabric, maybe this will help you out. Here's the quilt that I'm working on right now. It's just going to be a wall quilt. I haven't put the border or anything on. It's called Showers of Blessings. And there are big raindrops. But then we thought it might need some bubbles too, or some just smaller drops of water. And I have put a few on. Here's one. Here's one. I've pressed some down, but they haven't been stitched. And that's what I'm going to explain a little bit more today. First, I have talked about this cloud up here. This cloud has a different type of fabric in it. It's not, well, it is a tulle, but it's very fragile. And you have to be very careful with this one. But luckily, this kind of tulle is a little easier to work with. What I decided to do, or what I do if I want to do bubbles, is I find a circle, and in the pattern for that, these directions are in the pattern. But I find something to give me a circle. You could use a jar, you can use anything. Trace a circle. I trace the circle on, this is Steamacine 2 Light. So trace that circle onto there, and then I'm going to cut it out around the edge. Now, and look how well I'm cutting. Of course, this scissor has I'm not a very good cutter yet, but I can get all of my fingers in here. After I cut the outside out, I cut in, and I do this if I'm doing anything. If I'm making a circle shape on fabric, I'm making a ball or something, I cut out the inside so that there's less fusible that's going to be under my shape. And then I'm going to put this, I think my iron is hot enough. I'm going to take off, I'm going to put this on some, you can put on freezer paper, this is parchment paper, any type of paper that will protect. Okay, and then you take the backing off of your Steamacine 2, and sometimes my fingers are good at that, and sometimes they're not quite. Here, I got it started, I think. You can use a pin too. Sometimes I do that. Okay. Okay. I don't think on this, if there's a shinier side than the other, I can't tell. So I just lay it down, stick this on there so that the outside is covered in, so it's flat. So there's no wrinkles in there. And then without steam, I just lightly touch it to make sure it sticks to the fabric. Then let it cool a little bit, and I would cut this out with my regular scissors, cutting right along that line. And then you can, once you've cut it out along that line, you can take it, sometimes this isn't so grand, but you can take the backing paper off and lay it right down on top of your fabric. I'm not going to go that far, but you can, once this cools, you can peel this backing paper off and lay it right down. I have a practice piece right here. And see, I've taken the backing piece off and stuck it on there, and then I heat it up, and same thing on my quilt. I heat it up. When I do, I put a piece of this parchment paper over top. So when I heated this up, I laid this on top. It still will be enough, and since this is steam too, I changed my iron to a steam setting, and it's still with the parchment paper that will protect it. It will heat it and stick it down. So, and once you have it down, I'm going to show you on this guy. Once you have it down, then you're ready to stitch it. And this is the way I usually stitch it. I put some pins in around the edge. Oh, well, the reason I put pins in is you can't just lay this down on your fabric and just, here, let me show you. You can't lay it down on here and just run this through your machine without something underneath it, because it needs something to stabilize the bottom. Now, if you have your quilt on top of batting and backing, you've got enough there. But on this, I don't have anything on the back of this quilt. So I have to put a piece of stabilizer on it. And so that's what I did on my quilt over here. And I can show you, maybe show you a little bit easier. I put a little pin around the whole thing, like, just to make sure it doesn't flip up when I'm working on it. This one I'll just put 2 pins, but on this one, on my piece, I did put them all the way around. Then I set up my sewing machine, and I have talked about the setup I do for this before, but I'm going to show you again how I set up the machine, and then I will just do a few stitches to show you how to do it. First thing I do is I have the right size needle. This needle is a 80-12 because the thread is for, it says 80-12. It's a 50 weight thread. It's not, or maybe a 40 weight thread, but it's not having problems. And then on the bobbin, I have a very lightweight thread. I think it's called bottom line, so it will stay on the bottom. This is the stitch that I use. It's called 1329. It's in my Bernina. It's under this quilting stitches. This is the single blanket stitch. This is the double. I use the double if I'm doing something more. You know, I want more showing, but for this, a single's fine. I set this stitch up to be 2.0 wide, that's the jump in part, and 2.0 long, which is the part that goes along the edge. I always turn my tension down to 2.25. And then the very important thing is I move my needle position to the far right, which is number 5. And then I'm ready to sew. So let me just take a couple of stitches here and show you how this is not too terribly hard once you get started. First thing I do is put my needle down and back up, and then pull up the thread so that I can sew, and my hand is still working on getting all of its movement back. I usually come back over here to start this again so that it will start where it's supposed to start. And it's going to go down along the edge of the outside, and it's going to jump in, jump back. Then I'm going to go straight down, jump back, down, jump back. When I get to a little farther, I'm watching right here. I'm watching the very edge of this side of the foot, and that way I can see where my needle is going to jump next. Every few stitches for a circle, you have to turn, and always when you are doing the blanket stitch, you always make your adjustments when the needle is on the outside of the circle or the shape, whatever it is. If you do the adjustments when it's inside, that's going to noticeably show. You want that stitch, that's the jump stitch, to always look like it's together. Okay, then I could go all the way around this, and I think I have one that I did. Oh well, I do have one that I've done on here. Go all the way around, take your stitches, and use a needle that has the open eye. What are they called? A needle like this. It's got an open eye on it. You can just put your threads through there, and you can pull them to the back, and then you knot them. So I wanted to show you one that I've already done. Here's one. I have this stabilizer pinned underneath. I stitched around here, and then tied it off on the back, and then I could tear away that stabilizer that was on the outside. But I left this because I thought might need it just to keep that in nice shape until I get it all, till I get the batting and the backing on and do the quilting and everything. It won't hurt a thing. It can, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could wet it and let it, it's one that will go away in water, but it's not bothering me at all. And then, like I said before, this is made for a wall quilt. I'm not sure how sturdy this tool would be on a, I think it would probably be sturdy enough if you hand wash something gently, but I would avoid it maybe on a quilt that's going to be knocked around and used a whole lot. So this is mainly for wall quilts, which we dust and hang up and enjoy. So if you have a fragile fabric, don't be afraid. Of course, I would try it, you know, if you're not sure about it, experiment on a piece of other fabric until you see how it works before you use it on your quilt. So there you go. You can always add bubbles to any quilt.